Hello and welcome to what you can learn from grandmaster games. In today's episode, we're going to be going over Sindarov against Caruana from round 4 of the FIDE Candidates. In this episode, I wanted to do something a little different. Normally we go over the game and analyze it, but this time the game was mostly won at home. Sindarov had really good preparation. So this time I wanted to focus a lot more on the time management. Time management in chess is extremely important. It can win or lose you games, but it's often overlooked and many players don't know how to approach it properly. So that's what we're going to cover today. Okay, so let's get started and pay attention to the clock. So after d4, d5, you can see that both players have 2 hours. The time control for this tournament was 2 hours for the first 40 moves. And then after move 40, you get an additional 30 minutes with a 30-second increment. There was no increment for the first 40 moves, which is very significant, and players are going to need to adapt to that. You can tell when players exit their prep by when they spend a large amount of time on their moves. So the game continued c4, e6, knight f3, d takes c4, e3, knight f6, bishop takes c4, c5, castles, knight c6, queen e2, a6, knight c3, b5, and bishop d3. So far, everyone has been moving fairly close to instantly. Javokhir has spent around 4 minutes, and Caruana has spent 3, but that's very normal for this amount of time. You want to double check your moves and make sure that you're not going to play a very stupid mistake because you're trying to spend 5 seconds on a move instead of 20. So in this position, Fabiano played the move bishop to b7, and you can see he spent a very significant amount of time here. His time went from 157 all the way down to 145. He spent around 12 minutes on this move. If you divide 120, which is the total amount of minutes they have before move 40, by 12, you get 10. So you can only do 10 of these. However, it's a good time to do it now. When you're out of prep for the first time in a game, you want to turn your brain on and switch from memorizing into actually thinking. So spending large amount of time right after you get out of preparation is good practice. Right here, Sindarov was still in prep. So he played the move a4, and you can see this came fairly close to immediately. 1 minute basically counts as immediate because, again, he's going to do the same thing. As soon as he sees a move he doesn't know, he's going to spend a long time. So the 1 minute was probably spent double checking, trying to see if he's playing the right move that he had on his computer at home. And yeah, he played a4 in 1 minute. Fabiano spends another 10 minutes on b4. So this starts to get a little precarious in terms of time management, but it's not out of the ordinary. Knight e4 was played instantly. Knight a5 was played instantly. This is good because he knew after playing b4, knight e4 was probably the only move that was going to be played. So he planned knight a5 immediately. After knight f6, g takes f6 took another 8 minutes. So you can see that Fabiano's time management is a little shaky, whereas Javokhir is still in prep. D takes c5 was played, knight b3, again, another large amount of time. Let's take a step back and ask ourselves why we spend time in chess in the first place. So spending time in chess is for the purpose of making a good decision. If there is only one move in the position, for example, you should not spend any time, because if you spend 1 minute, 5 minutes, or a whole year on the move, it's going to be completely inconsequential. You're going to play the same thing every time. So keep that in mind when you're looking at the time management of both players. Now, Caruana is a professional with years and years of experience playing at the highest levels of chess. He's done well in rapid events. He's done well in classical. So we can't really criticize his time management here because he probably judged that these decisions were extremely critical to the game. And if he didn't find a good move now, he was going to lose. However, you should not copy this. If you find yourself spending a large amount of time on a move, like let's say you're playing a classical game, you have 60 minutes, and you find yourself on a 5-minute think. You should summarize your thoughts and then play something, even if the decision is not fully confident. Because what's going to happen is there will be another critical moment in the game, and you're going to want to spend time there too to make a good decision and potentially either make a comeback or win the game cleanly. So budgeting your time is extremely important. Okay, so let's go back to the game. c6 was played. Bishop takes c6 was played fairly close to immediately. And knight d4. So this has all been prepped for Sindarov. And then Caruana spends a whole 26 minutes on knight takes d4. Now, this was an important decision. You can see that the computer gives plus 0.3 for knight takes d4, if you look at the top left, and queen d5 is plus 0.7. So it was an important decision. However, 26 minutes is a very long time. But okay, he made a good decision. He played knight takes d4. This was prep, and then rook g8. Now it's Sindarov's turn to be out of prep, and he plays the move g3 in 26 minutes. So, of course, this is a large amount of time, but this is completely acceptable. There are no questions about it. First, it's just the amount of time he had. He had almost full 2 hours. So spending 26 minutes now once is not super bad. And it's the first time he's been out of prep. So he's going to want to switch his brain from memorizing into actually thinking. So this is a very good time to spend a large amount. So here, Fabiano is not going to find the only good move of queen takes d4. And instead, he's going to spend 17 minutes on the move f5. So there's a funny saying that goes around in the chess world, long think, wrong think, and that's what happened here. Fabiano spent a long time on f5 and did not play the right move. Bishop c4 was played in 11 minutes. Again, this is completely fine given how much time he has left. And then here, rook g4 was played in 18 minutes, and we only have 34. So this is borderline resigning. And why I say that is because he's putting himself in a position. Again, there's no increment in this game. He's putting himself in a position where he's just going to have to play 20 plus moves in 16 minutes. And in classical chess, that is extremely fast. He's giving himself almost no chance to come back in the game. Now, why this happened to Fabi could be a lot of things. It could be nerves. It could be that he realized his position was bad, and then he just wasn't able to come to the fact that he needed to play desperately, aka he needed to play fast. Okay, so let's start talking about Javokhir's time management here, because he puts on an absolute masterclass on how to manage your time. So he has an hour 15 left and his opponent has 16 minutes. And he plays the move bishop e3 in 4. So 4 minutes is a good amount of time to spend on a move, because when you're taking 10 minutes on some decisions, you're going to have to play some other decisions faster. So bishop e3, 4 minutes is a standard amount of time. One of the biggest pitfalls that players of all levels fall under is playing and spending amounts of time differently based on how much time your opponent has. It would be a very big mistake to play either slower or faster because Caruana is very low on time. So you should only look at your clock and almost not even pay attention to opponent's clock at all when you're playing. So here, Fabi plays bishop d5. Again, he spends a standard amount of time here, 4 minutes, but this is just simply not good enough because he needs to play super, super fast. And 4 minutes, you can see it's already like 25% of his time at this point. So that's why I said rook g4 is close to resigning. He's giving himself no chance. Rook c1 was played pretty quickly, 5 minutes, standard amount of time. Bishop e7, another 50% of his time. And then bishop a6 was played in less than 1 minute, or around 1 to 2 minutes. And this is another really good lesson to take from Javokhir here, which is that you can see he didn't play the best move. Bishop f4 is better, rook fd1 is better, and bishop a6 is the third best move. But it's fine because Javokhir understood that many decisions were good here, so he's not going to waste time on trying to find marginally the best move, because he's going to have more important things to judge later. So again, Javokhir plays bishop takes a6, and now Fabi finally realizes that he has to play instantly. So he plays king f8 in 4 seconds, and you can see the evaluation of the position is only plus 1.4. Now, plus 1.4 is a big advantage, especially at this level, but Fabi himself has played games at this level where a player was up plus 1.4 and then the other player made a comeback. So let's say Fabi were to make his bad decisions in this game in half the amount of time, he would have a way bigger chance of coming back in this game. But because he put himself at 6 minutes, when Javokhir makes a mistake, he's not going to be able to take advantage of it. For example, after bishop b5, this was a good decision. Like, the evaluation is still plus 1.0, but apparently h5 was a lot better than bishop f6. Bishop f6 is a mistake again. So if Fabi were to be able to spend any amount of time that was other than instantly here, he might have had a chance to come back in this game. And then again, Javokhir puts on a masterclass on how to manage your time. So we're at move 22. It's around halfway to move 40, and he has 60 out of his 120 minutes. This is picture perfect. He plays the move rook d1, again in 5 minutes. He doesn't care that Fabi is at 6 minutes. He's going to spend a good amount of time objectively based on his clock and his position, and is not going to focus on Fabiano only having 6 minutes. Fabi plays king g7 instantly. Bishop c6 came pretty quickly. He probably planned that when he was playing rook d1. Rook a5 was played instantly. Bishop takes d5 was played, again, not super fast. He played 3 minutes, which is standard, again. Rook takes d5, and rook c5, again. I'm going to say this over and over. He's playing good amounts of time every single move. Now, the ending of the game, from Javokhir's perspective, is probably the one area where I would not recommend a student to play like this. So after rook d7, he's going to start playing fast. He plays d5 quickly, queen f3 quickly, rook d5 quickly, this rook d5 quickly, rook f5 quickly, and every single move, it's going to be fast. Now, I don't recommend this because most of us are human. We make mistakes. Javokhir has very, very good calculation. Obviously, he won the candidates. So he just calculated to the end of the game quickly. But if you're playing here, you can spend a lot more time because you have 45 minutes and you should double check your moves. If you were to ask Javokhir about his decision making here, or any other top player, for example, they're probably going to say something along the lines of, this has all been forced, or everything is so winning, you could just play whatever. So we are, once again, we are more human, so that's bad practice for us. But for them, it's just Wednesday. Okay, so h4, bishop c3, h5, forcing the rook off g6, rook a6, and then queen g4, bishop d4, and rook c5 was the end of the game. So the reason why this is resignable for black is that there are two threats. There's rook c8 threat, which wins the queen, and then there's rook takes c3, which, let's say they were to stop rook c8 with this rook. Now we can play rook c3, stopping the bishop from guarding this pawn, and then bishop f6 is checkmate. So we can learn a lot about time management from this game, both from Javokhir and Caruana. So when we are faced with very tough decisions and we feel like we might make a bad one, a lot of times it's better not to waste all your time, because Caruana had no time to put up resistance, and Javokhir played just fast enough to where he was able to comfortably win the game. I hope everyone found this episode on time management helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.